morning, YouTube. Good morning to all my teachers and parents. School is over. It's over, bitch. It's over. It's over. Today is the first day of summer vacation. Now, for me personally, I've had a crazy year. It started off at James Madison High School. I was there from September to January, and the migrants came and your girl had to leave. Then I went to Brownsville because I was like, I haven't worked in the neighborhood in a while, and to be honest, my experience wasn't too bad. I worked at My Hall Bridges pre-pandemic, 2019, 2020 into the pandemic, and it wasn't too bad. It was a junior high school. They talked about some budget nonsense, but whatever. And that's when I went back into security, and then I came back and I was at Midwood for a year and a half, left, and then yeah. So I was like, I hadn't worked in the neighborhood in a while. I actually worked at PS 150 for 1 month, the month of June in 2022. Yeah, but I was like, let me work in the neighborhood. This way I could just walk or whatever. So I worked at a school called PS 156. And boy, oh boy, ratchet is an understatement. But it's funny because I came in January. I was gonna leave, and I only stayed that long until March because me and the sub teacher there, we got cool, and we both got let go because the principal came in and said we didn't know how to behavior manage. Like, go figure. And it was during dismissal time, so it was like so hilarious, whatever. And then I ended up in the beautiful, wonderful PS 315. I was there from March up until yesterday, and the principal was very appreciative, and she said, yes, we can come back in September. So if the Lord don't bless me with a new job, and I already made up in my mind, I'm not just going to go back to security. It needs to be a job that's well paying. But if that doesn't happen, then I guess your girl is back, So, and like I said in a previous video, I actually do like my job. It's just I've been through a lot. I've been through a lot of things, and the pay is low, but God will work it out eventually. I feel like if it's meant for me to be permanent, I will. If it's meant for me to go into another career, I will. So at this point, I just put it in God's hands, and I let the universe do what they do. But briefly, I wanted to talk about just the education system and parents taking accountability. And this was on my heart heavy, and I just had to talk about it. Parents, you are your kid's first teacher. And I only have one child, but there was no way that I'm not going to be involved in his education, because if your child is slow and not doing well in school, that's a reflection on you. It really is, as a parent, because yes, the public school system has its flaws, but there is no reason why you should be keeping your kids home under any circumstances. Like, if they have, the only way you should ever keep your kids home is if they have a fever, right? If they have a little cold or something, send them to school. It's okay. They're not gonna, they're not gonna die, or people are not gonna die from a little cold. A child have a little sneeze, oh, stay home for a week. It's like, we need to cut that. We need to stop that. Your child's education should be the first. If you don't got nothing right, I don't care if the kid wearing the same clothes every day. I don't care. Your child's education is important. And you know why? Because one day they have to get a job, right? They're going to have to support themselves. And let me tell you something. If they don't have the basics, and when I say basics, reading and writing, comprehending, and knowing how to spell and write a sentence and stuff, if they don't have the basic fundamentals, they can't get a job. Because guess what? Even with security, right? Like I worked at the World Trade Center, I had to take a test, right? Just being a para, I had to take a test. Just there's no job where there's no reading comprehension that's entailed in it, unless if you doing retail or something. But most jobs you have to take some type of reading comprehension, something to work there, right? And also I was thinking, for a child to go to school is very good. It teaches them structure and being on time for things. Because I could be on the phone with somebody and they'll be the ones, sometimes I'll say it, but they'll be like, oh, Crystal, I got work in the morning. Or I'll say it, I got work in the morning. I'll talk to you later. Right? Where does that come from? Our mothers telling us, you got school in the morning, go to bed. So it's been put into it was programmed into us for 12 years to go to sleep at a certain time so you could wake up and what? Go to work. My son is working for the second time this summer. He worked last summer and this summer. And I didn't have to push him to do it. He wants to do it, right? He already has structure. He already knows how to go to sleep at a certain time and wake up at a certain time. So I don't have to do that. He knows that on his own. He's disciplined and I taught him that. So I just wanted to stress that to my parents. Like, when you don't bring your kids to school, I have a one-to-one and I was telling a few people about him. He's such a brilliant kid, but he's behind and can't. And I told my one-to-one, he going to 3rd grade, he old enough to understand. I'm like, don't you want to do better in school, whatever? He's like, oh, he don't, because it's like a letter and his mother opted him out of summer school. I was like, you don't feel like you need extra help? You barely come to school. Like, this child literally would come to school 2 days a week or 3 days. If I was with him from March up until the last day of school. He didn't come all 3 days of this last week. And just in general, every week he always misses at least 2 days, right? So that's a lot of days missing and absent. And last year I was told he was absent so much they call ACS on the parents. But it's not saying that you don't deserve to have kids, but it's the fact of, why not bring them to school? This socialization is also, he was crying because he was missing out on trips. He was missing out on gym. He was missing out on dance because he doesn't come to school, you know. And the teacher I worked with, she don't play. So when he would come like at 10 o'clock, she's like, no, you are going to be here and you are going to do the work. You're not going to dance or gym. You're going to sit here and you're going to do the work that's required of you. So because of my coworker, he learned a little something, because she was not with the shits. She's like, you coming in here at this time? No, you're going to learn something. You're going to make up the work. And she would sit with him. I would go with the other kids, but she would sit with him and make sure he do it, you know. So and he missed out on trips. He missed out on a lot of things because he doesn't come to school. And he missed out on the last trip. And then on June 11th, we took the kids to the movies. And we took the kids to the movies. And he was like, that was his first time in a movie theater. So it's more than just they don't take him to school. It's they don't take him nowhere. He's never been to, and that's a lot of kids today. I noticed, like when I was a kid, all of us been to a library. Even a lot of people my age don't like the library because they don't like to read, and we live in a society of ignorance, I noticed. A lot of people just don't read, and it shows, and it's sad. You know, very closed-minded. They don't want to learn nothing, whatever. But a lot of kids, I noticed in this generation, never been to a library, never been to a bookstore. You know, you tell them, oh, Barnes and Nobles is shut down. They don't know what Barnes and Nobles is. They don't know what a museum is. Never been inside of a museum. And museums are free and often cheap. So it's like, how you never been to? But then it's the appearance. And I could speak on it because I'm a millennial. But millennial parents, a lot of y'all suck. A lot of y'all just, I don't know why y'all having kids, but it's horrible. It really is. Like, why don't y'all bring y'all kids to school? Bring your kids to school. Like, it's just horrible, you know. For the most part, I would say, yes, people do bring their kids to school. But you just have people who, it's like, it don't register. And I spoke to my one-to-one, I spoke to the father twice. And so other people say, oh, you know, he a little delayed, whatever. That's not an excuse because he's cognitive enough to get him video games. He's smart enough to give him toys. So why not educate them? And then my whole thing is, if you want to keep your kids home, do something with them. At least read to them. You got so many kids that say, oh, you know, their parents don't even like. For me personally, I didn't really read to my son as often as I should, but I made sure his homework was done. I made sure, you know, like with charter school, they have homework every single night. You know, when he was in elementary, I made sure I looked at the homework to see if he was on point. You know what I'm saying? And you have, because some parents might say, oh, well, my kid doesn't get homework. Trust me, and that's why I had to make this public service announcement. If your child doesn't get homework, it's a reason why they're not getting homework, right? Like my coworker wasn't giving my one-to-one homework because she gave him 3 folders and they were all ripped up, right? And so from before I came up until the end of the school year, she just gave up. She stopped giving him homework or whatever, which I don't blame her. At first I was like, huh? But yeah, what's the point of sending the homework? He not going to do it and he's just going to rip it up in your face. The folder was ripped up. So we don't know if he did it or his sisters did it or the parents just don't care. But the parents never asked my coworker, oh, where's the homework? So it shows that they don't even care. And it's really sad. Like, you know, how are you as a parent, you're not asking no questions. So you don't ask nothing, you don't get nothing. Like, me as a parent, I always ask questions. My son is in high school, and guess what? I'm still asking questions because I actually give a fuck about my child's education. Like, I don't understand how people just, like, don't care. And you don't have to be the smartest person in the world, right? All you have to do is to care. So I'm urging my parents, ask questions. This is your child, because guess what? If your child turn out, you know, like a bum, and they don't work and stuff, and they don't want to do anything because you didn't want to take them to school, it's all your fault. It's your fault. It's very simple. How do people become productive citizens? You think it just happens overnight? No, because we're used to going outside. My mother made sure I went to school. Granted, there was times when I just didn't feel like it or whatever, but it was very rare when I would just stay home. Very rare. Usually, like elementary school, I had a fever in 2nd grade. I remember that. But for the most part, I had really good attendance and I enjoyed school too. You know, people complain and say, oh, school, da-da-da. But in the elementary and junior high department, they really do try. They try to make the curriculum, they try to make it so fun for the kids. They have an assessment test where they put a game in between the testing. I don't agree with that, but they're doing that to make it more fun for the kids because people complain and say, oh, it's boring, right? And I've been a sub-para for years, and I could truly say, like, they are trying to make it enjoyable for the kids. They are trying. They are trying. So just to say, oh, you know, my kid don't like school because it's boring. Okay, but they have to learn structure. They have to learn to wake up in the morning, because guess what? When they become adults, they got to wake up and go to work. You would want them to have a job, right? I would hope that's the goal, right? You want them to be productive citizens. You know, but it starts from childhood. It don't start from when they adults. So I urge my parents, be better parents and be involved with your kids. Like, it's disgusting. It's not even just a Brownsville thing. This school 315 is by the junction. So people own homes. People, that's considered middle class by Brooklyn College. It's middle class. No one lives in the projects. Nobody, you know, like, I live in the projects, but I care about my son's education. Where we live is not who we are, you know, type stuff. So these are working people, and they act like they don't care about their kids' education. It just doesn't make sense to me, you know. But yeah, that's what I wanted to say about that. And my next topic I wanted to discuss is what happens in Miami. Woohoo. So those of y'all know I'm a big Tubi fan. Those of y'all who have Tubi, write that in the comments. If you have Tubi, put like a smiling emoji, whatever. And you know, Tubi just has some really fantastic movies. And this particular movie of What Happens in Miami, it talks about 4 friends, but it's very common. One of them passes away, right? So it's very, I'm not gonna lie, it's very predictable, very, very predictable, but it's a twist. So basically, it's a Asian black girl, a Dominican, and a white girl. The white girl is like, I guess you could call her the head of the group or whatever, the one everybody hates. And the white girl realizes it throughout the movie, like, they not really her friends, they just around her. Like, the Asian girl wants to be like her, and she tries to kiss her. The black girl just tolerates her, and the Dominican girl wants to be like her too. So they not really her real friends for real. And I wanted to briefly talk about that too. Like, you know, they always say in life, there's no such thing as friends. They say that, right? Now, some people are blessed to have good friends. You know, they're lucky enough in that way. But for the most part, I wanted to talk to specifically right now, I'm talking to my younger ladies. If you're between the ages of 15 and 21, I need you to listen to this. I need you to listen good. Be careful with vibes. If you feel, and this happens with grown women too, but if you feel like someone's competing with you, and when I say that, little things like, let's say if you getting your license, right? Because most people get their license at 16, 17. Those of y'all who live in the suburbs. So let's say you getting your license in a car, right? You like, oh, my daddy's getting me a car. I can't wait. You just sharing, you know, good news. And that friend, you know for a fact, don't got money for a car. You know, let's say they come from a poor family or whatever, right? And you like, oh, I'm getting a car, I'm getting my license, I can't wait. And that person responds, oh yeah, my dad getting me a car too. But you know in your head that her father don't make much, her mother not working, they don't live in a bit. Like, you just know that that's a lie. That's not a friend. That's somebody who's trying to compete with you, right? And you have to be careful of that, because even as grown women, I keep my distance from people. Like, I'm okay with having associates. At 35 years old, I'm okay with having associates. Like, it doesn't really bother me that I don't have... I used to have close friends, and those people actually broke ties with me. Believe it or not. So, and the first one I think I told y'all about, she was talking crap about me, and it wasn't even true. The second one I told y'all about, his name, he was my son's godfather. He just had issues. Like, the final straw for him is we had a disagreement about PB and Rock, and so he ends the friendship off of that. It wasn't even an argument. It was just like, I told him, you're entitled to your opinion, and he took that to another level, saying I need therapy and I'm passive aggressive, and I'm like, and I told him thank you, because I don't need that in my life. Like, you letting little things come in between a friendship, I don't need that in my life. Like, you always looking for a way out. Like, usually he would just ghost me, but that was the first time that he actually sent a essay text, so I guess that was an improvement. I said you need to work on communicating effectively as an adult with people. That's, obviously with me, I guess he didn't care because I'm not important in his life. But in general, that's not good to do that. If you ghosting somebody that you don't really know, that's different. But somebody you've been friends with for decades, you don't do them like that. But it just shows that I didn't mean nothing to him. That's what it really shows. So, and then like the third girl I told y'all about, or the second girl, third person I should say, with Shannon, I thought we were really good friends because we used to talk on the phone every night. We hung out all the time, and she ghosted me, so our friendship meant nothing to her. And I said all that to say this, like, you have to look at the red flags, because one thing I could truly say with all three of them, there were red flags. So I can't sit here and tell y'all, oh, I had no idea it was coming. Especially with Shannon, like, the way she treated me was fucked up. Like, she didn't want to give me a ride home. Just like little things that she would do. And it's funny because strangers in the street told me that she wasn't a friend. That's another thing. If you have a friendship with somebody and you talking about them to somebody else and everybody agrees that that person's not a friend, they're not. Because especially if it's people who, just like I told y'all about the dude, I was in his play, both my family and friends, they all agreed that this wasn't it, and they don't know each other. So whenever you're in a friendship and you're telling people about this person and they all agree that they ain't nothing, believe it, because they not. So I said all that to say this. It's in the umbrella of friendship. When you have any inkling that a person don't rock with you, and then the main red flag with Shannon is she never called me. Like, I'm not even like joking. When I say she never called me, she never called me, right? And if she did call me, it was always a return phone call. So let's say if I called her, today's Thursday. Let's say if I call her Wednesday night, she would call me Thursday night. She would return my call, or like a return text. She never, and when I say never, I'm talking about, I'm not even exaggerating. She never initiated a text or a phone call. That's another red flag that somebody don't rock with you. So in this movie called What Happens in Miami, there were red flags that they were not true friends. The black girl was like, she was very toxic, the white girl. So, the black girl, she had an admirer. So the black girl had a boyfriend, right? Her father's a lawyer as well. And, the white girl takes a picture of her hugging up on another guy. The white girl says, oh, if you don't tell your boyfriend, I'm going to tell the whole world you cheating. The black girl goes, like, what's wrong with you? Which is true. Like, what does that have to do with you? Granted, that's your best friend and stuff. I feel like the only way you have a right to do that is if the boy is your brother or if he's a close friend of yours. Like, granted, if I have a guy friend and I'm closer to the guy than I am the girl, Yeah, I might tell him, yo, she cheating on you. But even still, like, I would never want to be the reason why people break up. Because they always going to be like, oh, because of this person. Like, I'd rather a person find out on their own and come to their own cognizance. That's just me. Has nothing to do with you, especially when you're adults. It's different when you're in high school. But when you're adults and you talking about possible... Now, she didn't have... None of them had any kids. These were all single women. But they were adults. They were in their early 20s. You still don't get involved in that. You know, that's just not something... I think that's very distasteful. You know, the white girl was very, like... She was a bully. She was. You know. So... You know, the black girl was like, what do you get out of this? Like, what's your problem? Like, why are you fiending to tell my boyfriend I'm cheating on him? And she was like, first of all, you know, it's the angle. I wasn't even cheating. She was like, oh, just like a few years ago, da-da-da-da. That was years ago. But something was wrong with the white girl because she just was miserable and just was, like, mean to everybody. And you have people like that in your life. And me watching the movie, even though it was a movie, it's like, wow. We all have someone that claimed to be... Even in high school, I had this girl. She was tall. I think she was a little taller than me, light skin, whatever. And we were total opposite. She was cool with me, but she would do and say things that was kind of like, huh? She's not a friend. Like, so that's why I tell my teenage... Because these group of girls, they were friends from high school. And then they were adults. But I want to talk to my high school girls. If you have somebody that's mean to you, that's saying things that's not right, that's not a friend, you know. With Shannon, we had a mutual friend. And he was mean to both of us. Like, for me, I knew he wasn't no friend. Like, I knew that. Like, he was just somebody that took the bus with me. And we talked on the phone. But I don't consider him one of my friends. Like... We said we was close friends in high school, but he really wasn't a friend because he would pick fights. Like, he would... I'll never forget, we was sitting... This was June because we got to come out of uniform. And he put gum in my algebra book. It's like, why would you do that? Like, you putting gum in somebody... So, yeah, I threatened to fuck him up. And it was just... It was horrible. But I knew from that point, and even early on, he wasn't a friend, not to just to me, but even our mutual friend in high school, he lied and said, oh, she was being sexual with her boyfriend in the train station. Like, he was a hot mess. He was nobody's friend. And I'm sure we all could agree, you know, now that we're grown. I've been had said it from 10 years ago. But yeah, he wasn't a friend. So this white girl was similar to that. Like, she just would try to bully people and talk about people. She was very toxic, right? So I wanted to urge my young ladies, like, when somebody's mean to you and you're trying to be nice to them and do right by them, and all they do is pretty much just kind of violate, as you say, as that's the word that the kids use now. They just want to violate and embarrass you. That is not a friend. Also, jealousy. You know, like I said, if you getting your license in your car and then they lying, talking about some, oh yeah, I'm getting a car too, but you know that they're not going to get a car. Or like, you could be in your early 20s or whatever age, and a person, you're graduating college, and you know that person's not in school at all, and they go, oh yeah, I'm graduating too. They are competing with you. They're not your friend. That's not a friend. And I'm going to repeat this. I can't stress this enough. A true friend will never, I repeat, will never compete with you. They're going to applaud you. Just like with my former friend Shannon. I was never in competition with her. She went and got her master's. Guess what? I was blowing the bullhorn, had the whole big oak tag sign with my son, and we went and supported her. It was never a competition. It was never a, oh, or even my cousin had brought it out. You know, you have a new boyfriend, then all of a sudden, oh yeah, I got a new boyfriend too. And my cousin was like, oh, she trying to compete with you? I don't know. Like, I didn't get that inkling from her. I just got the inkling of she just was a shitty friend. Was she jealous of me? I never felt that from her. I was never jealous of her, evidently. You know, I'm not a jealous person. Like, but me is very few people of me in the world. And that's what I'm realizing. That's another thing I wanted to point out. Nobody is like you. So you could be a kind-hearted person and you there for people. And like I said in my previous video, when she had a party, I was there to clean up and set up. You think I was getting a ride home? No. You know, I just went over and beyond for her, and it just taught me, stop doing that shit. Stop going over and beyond for people that won't even give you a tissue to wipe your damn nose. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you're gonna go over and beyond, do it to a minimal. You know, I make sure I do things to a minimum now, because they're not gonna do the same thing for you. They're not. You know, and it hurts. Like, it hurts worse than a relationship, because a friendship, friends are supposed to do for each other. You should want to do for somebody, right? It should be natural, you know. Another thing, it's so many examples I could give y'all. Like, let's say you wear contacts for your birthday, right? And then the next birthday they wearing contacts. It's like everything you do, they copying. That's another sign they could be jealous. If you're at a party and a guy's hitting on you, and you know that the guy's hitting on you, right? You're not crazy. You know when a guy's hitting on you, he trying to get with you and stuff like that. And you telling this friend that you're not comfortable, but they say things like, oh, he don't want you, da-da-da-da. That's jealousy, because I'm telling you I'm uncomfortable, and then you still trying to get me around this dude. Signs of jealousy. And you will know. And my advice is, you don't have to cut the person off, because I know for me, some people do serve a purpose in our life. Like with Shannon, even though she ghosted me and I actually got through to her and she just went off on me like I did something. I'm like, nobody did anything to you. But that was just confirmation that she was never a friend. Because if you was a true friend, you're not going to bring up something that happened in 2018 at your birthday. I said, okay, that happened. What else? 7 years. What else did I do? All you could say is I had an attitude at your birthday, which it wasn't towards her, but she didn't have anything else on me. So that's the only thing she could talk about, you know? So you feel it, you know, when somebody's not your friend, especially if it's year after year, you'll feel it. You'll definitely feel it. It's a girl that I hang out with, but we're not personal friends. I've known her since City Year, which is 2009. I wouldn't really consider her a friend. She's just somebody I've known for years. And it's interesting because when you have songs in the club that be like, best friend, go best friend, and they don't want to raise their hand, that's a sign too. And that's, some people might say, oh, that's petty. But you'll know, ladies, like you'll know when somebody's your friend and who's not your friend. You know when somebody has a genuine heart and when they don't. You'll know that shit. And you have people that they have everything to live for, and you be like, well, why are they not happy? You know, you have people, just like I was telling y'all about the girl that was talking crap about me. She has everything to live for, but she's still not happy within herself. Because if you're happy within yourself, you're not going to talk crap about people. And then when confronted, you're going to say sorry. You're not going to have this attitude of, oh, I'm not going back and forth with you. That was 10 years ago. I don't care if it was 100 years ago. You still was talking shit about me. You lied on me. Like, what is wrong with you? You know? But there were red flags. I can't deny that. So, I wanted to talk about going away. Now, me personally, I don't go away with bitches because of movies like that. And also my little experience that I had when I was 25. I told myself I would never, I don't care. The only way I would do a girls trip is if I'm in a relationship with a dude and we've been together for a while, we married or whatever, and then he got like sisters and stuff. and they invite me, and I'm close to them. That's the only way I would ever do a girls trip, because girls are evil, and you always have somebody that's gonna have an attitude for no reason. Like when I went on a girls trip, that same girl who accused me of having an attitude on her birthday, she had an attitude the whole trip, and I didn't trip, because I'm not gonna take one situation and not be friends with you because of one situation. She just was looking for a reason to not fuck with me. That's all that was. I didn't do nothing to her, but she ain't like me. That's just kind of obvious. If you like somebody and you friends with them, you're gonna give them another chance. You're not just gonna take one situation and just, come on now. So, you know, yeah, she had an attitude when we went away, and I always told myself never again, because you're stuck with that person for the whole trip, you know. And she didn't have any money, and it's like, it was a good trip because I still enjoyed myself regardless. But that's like one of the reasons, mood swings. Most women, they do have mood swings or whatever. They're gonna have attitudes in different scenarios, and who wants to put up with that for days at a time? 1. 2, somebody always don't have money. You got to pay for people. 3, people have different ideas. So if you have a group of 4 or 5 people, people are going to want to do different things, right? It's easier to go with family, or it's easier, even with my son. It was just me and him, but he was annoying because he wanted to go on all the rides and I didn't. So they came to a point when he went on the rides by himself, right? Because we're 2 different people. We have 2 different ideas. It was very hot. It was just, you know, whatever. And I'm like, nah, I need to sit down. Like, you know, I went on most of the rides with him, but a lot of the times, thank God he's old enough to go by himself, because I was just like, oh my gosh, you know. So you got to deal with that. You got to deal with people's moods, personalities. And in the end, you know, they ended up killing the white girl. Even though she was an asshole, the way they did her was so wrong. But Shaniqua Robinson, the one who died in Mexico, right? She actually paid for everybody. She had 2 businesses. She was making very good money. And they took advantage of her. They only invited her to the trip so she could pay for everything. And it's just sad, because that's what some people do to have friends. And I know for me, I've done it just for the sake of company. But you got to be careful of people like that, because people see that you have a good heart and they'll use you. They will, especially females. You know, so it's like, you got to be careful with that. They murdered her. This was her best friend, y'all. The one that was beating her up in the video. That was her best friend. And the mother was shocked, because that same friend would come over for dinners and everything else, and they grew up together. And that same person was whipping her in the camera. And it's kind of obvious that they killed her and they covered it up. Nobody has been arrested or anything. And there's just so many girl trips that have negative endings than anything. Like, I'm happy I don't have a daughter, because I would tell her, hell no, you're not going to no girls trip. And if you must go, I'm coming with you. Like, y'all need chaperones. Like, what, Ma? No, I can't trust it. I don't trust no hotel parties. I don't trust no girl trips. And it's sad you gotta think like that and live like that. But I'd rather be safe than sorry. I'd rather be safe than sorry. And I'm urging my parents, don't be afraid. Just because your child is 21, guess what? They're still learning and they still need assistance from you. I remember being 18 and I would tell my parents stuff and they wasn't helping me. I had to figure things out on my own. I had a boy harassing me, and my father didn't do nothing about it when I was 18. And it blew up, and it got into a whole situation. But be in your child's life. Just because they're grown, that doesn't mean that they don't need you. They still need you until they figure things out. You have people my age and older, they still can't figure out who's their friend and who's not. For me, I'm pretty good with that. But even me, I've like made mistakes and let people into my life that wasn't my friend and stuff like that. You know, I had somebody, I remember my son, I had a birthday for him, and a girl, she actually was his after school teacher. That's how we met. But all the red flags was there that she, you know, whatever. And she was completely rude in my home in front of my father for my son's birthday. And even after that, I still hung with her. But eventually it kind of died down. Like, she's just, that's not a friend. You don't come into somebody's home and be rude. Talking about, I don't have a microwave. Bitch, you been knew I didn't have a microwave. Why are you bringing that up? And she was miserable over a guy she was seeing. They wasn't even dating. She was just mad she was just mad. And she was taking it out on my son's birthday. And my son ended up having, you know, even my son was like, what do you know, because she was criticizing everything. The cake. She was criticizing the, my TV wasn't on the wall. It's on a, like, what? You know, this is my house. And I remember telling her, this is my house. Like, I do what I want in my house. Who is you? But that was her showing her ass, and she's not a friend, right? So you have to pay attention to stuff like that. You know, you have to. Even if you end up alone with no friends, it's better to be alone with no friends than to be surrounded by snakes. I'm going to say that again. It's better to be alone and stand alone and than to be around snakes. And guess what? My best friends are my cousins. I'm not ashamed of it. My closest people to me right now are my cousins. All right? My cousins, my family, my father. Fuck everybody else. And those are my thoughts.